if we start with Kooheji, what you'll notice is that he's quite happy to stand his ground. This is against a UK veteran, Aiden James, who was, height and reach advantage. He's able to switch stance as well, so making him a real challenge for any opponent that's facing him. And what we see with Kooheji is that he stood his ground and he was waiting for Aiden to step in so he could counter him, slipping his head off the center line, as you'll see here, and countering him with big shots. Lovely slip there, as you can see. As Aiden James, from a orthodox stance, which is relevant because this is what Brad Katona's stance is, he fires that lead hand out, and you'll see Hamza slip to the outside and throw that straight left down the pipe that snaps his head back and then comes over the top with a big right hook that clips him on the chin. Lovely shots there. And I say he likes to stand his ground. He will quite happily stand and trade with anybody. He does like to push his opponents back, but he really doesn't like to give ground. And his footwork from side to side, as you'll see here, is really nice. Stepping around his opponent and staying in the pocket to strike using really nice hooks and uppercuts. The majority of the time he's trying to push them back so he can set up his takedowns, but there is a high volume of strikes that come from him all the way through his fights, and he will fire that left high kick as well. You'll see it crack his opponent on the side of the head here, which is what sets up the flurry to the takedown. Really dangerous guy, much higher volume, I would say, than Brad Katona, who is a bit more paced with his striking, certainly. But they do occupy the same space. I mean, they both want to be in this position. They want to be controlling their opponent from the top position and working ground and pound. Now, I think that Hamza's going to be far more happy to strike with Katona than the other way around. I do think that Brad's going to work his way in, maybe behind a couple of big shots and try and clinch Hamza and put him on the floor. The question is, how does that wrestling exchange play out? Because, of course, Katona's a strong, powerful athlete. He's got a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. But the wrestling of Kooheji is going to be a problem for him. You've also got to consider that Kooheji usually has Elder Eldarov in his corner, who's the super lightweight champion. He happens to be the same height as Katona, but he's about 15 pounds heavier. So that's going to be a really useful training partner as well as a coach to be in his corner. The danger for Katona is if he's not able to get in top position, if Hamza is able to wrestle himself into top position. Because the aggressiveness of his striking on the feet is exactly the same on the floor. I mean, just watch how he smashes with these elbows. And he doesn't even really mind giving his opponents a bit of space to scramble, because if they do scramble, he chases around to their back and continues that control. Look at that lovely head kick. Sweeps right up at the side of his opponent's head. Cracks him right there. Has him dazed for a moment. You can see him kind of rock back on his heels, and then he charges forward with a flurry of punches. Drives him into the fence. A nice big knee to the head. One more to the body, and then we get a level change. Capitalizing on the fact that his opponent is dazed, that he's a little bit disorientated, and the aggression of Hamza plays into that takedown attempt setup. Ideal case scenario, I think, for Kooheji is to allow Brad to come to him and try and counter him with flurries of punches. I expect that there's going to be a lot of grappling exchanges, and I think both of these guys are going to want the fight on the floor, but I think they both want to be in top position. This is something I noticed in one of his fights that really stood out to me because of the way that he sets it up. Now, he gets taken down here. He was peppering his opponent. His opponent crams him into the fence here. You're going to see a level change, and then Kooheji's dumped onto his back. Quite possible that this could happen against Katona. But straight away, he's attacking one side. His opponent is in an immediate defensive position because you can see that Kooheji's got his hips out to the side. He's putting pressure into this leg here to try and keep his opponent moving, whilst at the same time having his knee on the inside on the opposite. So you've got to picture yourself as the guy in the top position. You feel like your right arm's being isolated and potentially attacked with an omoplata, but you're also aware of the opposite side. You're hugging that leg with your left arm, because if that's able to creep out, then you're going to get caught in a triangle. So a multiple threat as soon as he's landed. And he actually adapts this very well because his opponent's got a good top game. And what you see is, look, he goes hard for this omoplata. He tries to pull his opponent towards it, and his opponent tries to free that arm and squares back up to him. And as he squares up to him, look how he swings that hand over the top. And again, you're going to expect this from Katona, who's pressuring forward, driving down and throwing big shots over the top. Watch his opponent loop this left hand up and over the top. It gets caught and braced. and then Kooheji's hand is going to slide down and cap the tricep. So now this left arm is caught by his opponent. He's got the shin in his bicep, and he's got his opponent's hand clasping onto the back. So now he feels very, very isolated on that side. Whilst at the same time, Kooheji's going to start creeping up on the opposite side because he feels the other arm's vulnerable. It's a really, really nice attack, this is. Look at that. Look how he kicks around to get over the shoulder. And as soon as his opponent realizes he's turning, you're going to notice he's going to make an adjustment with this foot to try and stay square to the guard. But the other thing you need to pay attention to is Kooheji's foot on the fence here, because he kicks off it in order to enable that spin to be much quicker so he can still catch his opponent as he's moving. So watch this. You see him. His toes are on the fence. He goes to kick, and his opponent chases to try and catch that arm and stay square to his opponent's hips, but still gets his arm caught. Now, he is able to get out of this armbar, but the point is, if Brad Katona's in top position and he's trying to land ground and pound strikes, it's not going to be as easy as just holding him and striking. He's got to be concerned about getting wrapped up with armbars and triangles and omoplatas from the bottom. And most of these things are good space creators. If you find yourself caught in somebody's guard, sometimes, I mean, I used to do it myself. It's probably not the best thing to do, but sometimes I would casually offer them an armbar so I could bail out and start to pass. That's something that Kooheji's got to be careful of, but it could also create some space, allowing Hamza to, even if he backward rolls and starts to wrestle himself, he might be able to put himself in a top position. And ultimately, that's where he wants to be. I mean, there's no doubt about it. His wrestling is very, very good. He's got great control of the hips. He's able to adjust from one technique to the next. Here we go, single leg to double leg. He's going to pull those hips out, drops his opponent to the floor, and then immediately settles into half guard, taking the ownership over one of those legs. Look how he clamps down onto that leg there. Like this is now under his control. It would be very difficult for his opponent to scramble while that leg's caught. And then that allows him to start using his aggressive elbows, which we've seen over and over again. You don't have to TKO somebody to get the finish here. Good elbows will do damage. They'll cause cuts. And just watch how quickly he moves here. I love this movement as well. Here we go again with he postures up and starts slamming those elbows into the midsection. Now, there's a lot of space for his opponent to move here. And as soon as his opponent scrambles, watch how Kooheji controls him. His hips go down and he turns. And what you're going to see is the left hand. We're watching this left hand, which is currently on the mat. It's going to adjust and it's going to grab this tricep here. What that does is it slows his opponent from rolling. It slows them from scrambling so he can readjust his position. Watch, his opponent drops and twists. He catches that tricep, slows him down. You can see his opponent's twisting to try and get over onto his knees. But that catch of the tricep that we're seeing there is just enough to slow him down. So as he turns to his knees, you can see Kooheji immediately circle and cover his hips. So he's gone from one position where he's getting controlled and hit to now being in another position. And I don't know who was off at this corner here, but there was definitely a look from Kooheji there. It's almost like he's making an example with these big shots he's throwing. There's a venom to the way that he attacks his opponents. And that's something that I don't see in Brad Katona. This is where, in my opinion, Kooheji's got the advantage because he's... There's more meaning in those shots. He is really trying to hurt his opponent. Katona, for me, seems much more like a competitor that's coming in to win, coming in to control, maybe work a submission. He does throw strikes, of course. He does dig good shots to the body and head, but they don't have the same kind of intention that Kooheji's do. The benefit of Hamza's style, though, is that he's very, very good at getting past the guard immediately. And what you'll see against this opponent is exactly that. So what he does here, and you'll see it, and it's a very similar takedown to the one that we saw used against Brad Katona, but the point of difference here is that he goes hook on the inside instead of hook on the outside. Now, this is a benefit to him because it puts him straight over the far side knee. Hook and lands, and then he covers that far side leg. You see immediately he brings the hand up here. He brings that elbow up. He's trying to stuff that knee down so he can pass to half guard, but he's not wasting his time. He's not settling in half guard so his opponents can look to scramble, look to re-establish their guard. Watch this. He stuffs it down. It's a lovely movement. He braces that knee where it is so his opponent can't pull it up anymore. He frees his right leg and he steps around, drops his hip in front of the knee. Now this knee's invalidated because he's dropped his hip in front of it. And you can see just out of the corner of our screen with this red red tape on his glove, that is Hamza posturing to strike, and you can see his opponent with the blue tape is grabbing onto that wrist. Of course, in his mind, he's stopping getting punched in the face, but what he does in the process is he gets his arm pinned both sides, because he goes from an overhook on this side, as you can see, to as soon as the arm is trapped by the leg and he finds himself in a crucifix position, he tries to circle this hand back around and to freedom, to which Hamza drops his head and catches. And now he's in a crucifix position. As soon as Hamza feels that this arm is in a vulnerable position, we're watching this arm here. As soon as he feels this pop out, he brings his knees together, so he now knows he's got ownership of that. Just like he does when he's in half guard top up against the fence with his opponent's legs. That kinesthetic awareness of, okay, I know where his arm is now even without looking at it. And he crosses his feet, so now he's got ownership of that arm. And then he's free to just rain down big shots here. And he was able to hold his opponent here for a good amount of time and keep smashing with these elbows. And the referee was taking a good look, but there was nothing his opponent could do, because as you can see, he's got this arm trapped underneath his neck, and then he's got this arm trapped between his legs. It's a perfect crucifix position. And as he keeps chipping away with these shots, he lands a really good elbow across the side of the cheekbone and the nose, and causes a cut. And that's when the referee steps in and realizes that his opponent is no longer able to defend himself. Lovely short elbows here. Now, it is going to be very difficult to control Brad Katona in that position because he's so powerful and explosive. There's going to be a position that he will be drilling with John Kavanagh. He'll know that there's a possibility that he gets caught in a crucifix, because it's a consistent part of Kooheji's game. In those moments, he only has to be caught for a few seconds and get a couple of good elbows to the face to cause a cut. And this is a 5-round fight, you've got to bear in mind. This is a championship fight. You don't want to be picking up cuts in the first couple of rounds, because the fight might get stopped by TKO, and then he doesn't get the belt that he's worked so hard to get.